Hello, 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 everyone. Today I will be reading you poetry so you can get to sleep. The reason this book is special though is because the poems are from 1914 and this book has been passed down throughout my family for years and years and years and years and years. Well, since 1920s. So, here it is. It's called The Littlest One. And you can tell from the book just how old it is. But I used to read it all the time, and you can see that kids have owned it from the red scribbles on the front. And yeah, it is getting very old, but the pages are intact and it's in pretty good quality considering it's 100 years old. So let's read. Just turn the page. You can see how old it is. Here's the first picture. And it's a little boy and it says, "All by myself I'm out in the rain." So here's the first poem, The Littlest One. I'm sitting on the doorstep and I'm eating bread and jam, and I aren't crying really, though I specks you think I am. And I'm feeling rather lonely and I don't know what to do, 'cause there's no one here to play with and I've broke my hoop in two. I can hear the children playing, but they says they don't want me, 'cause my legs are rather little and I run so slow, you see. So I'm sitting on the doorstep and I'm eating bread and jam, and I aren't a-crying really, though it feels as if I am. Tit for tat. It's cold and grey and still outside, and everything is wet with rain. I'm standing on the cushioned seat and breathing on the window pane, and drawing pictures with me, and the window's high against the sky. I can't see out unless I stand. I've drawn a house and chimney pot, I've drawn a man and children too, an apple and a toasting fork, and someone who is just like you. And Grandma's sitting in the rain, the pane's so small I've filled it all, and specks I'll have to breathe again. But Jane has spoilt it now, she says. I want a whipping and I don't. She's rubbed the window clean and says she'll fetch a policeman, but she won't. And now she's gone downstairs again, and breathing on the window pane, I'll draw an ugly one of Jane. Obviously, there's a lot of old language used. So specks obviously means I suspect. And nuggly and ugly. It's very simple. The next one is called The Nuggly Little Man. I tend that in the garden lives a nuggly little man, and he always wants to catch me, if he can, if he can. But I tend that I am quicker than the nuggly little man. I tend he's often waiting in the corner by the gate, and he creeps along the shadows, but is always just too late. And I tend he never gets me as I'm running through the gate. I tend he sits and watches in the hedge as I go by, and he pulls such nuggly faces, 'cause he thinks he'll make me cry. But I always laugh at him and whistle going by. And sometimes when I'm thinking of the nuggly little man, and it's getting nearly bedtime, then I wish I'd not began, attending he was such a nuggly little man. A pair of spectacles. Whenever I've been naughty, I cannot bear to see the eyes of people looking hurt or angrily at me. If someone's got to scold me, I'd rather Uncle Joe, because he has on spectacles that catch the light, and so I cannot see him looking, but instead the glass reflects, and to myself all little like I see in Uncle's specs. Little Blue Sunbonnet. Little Blue Sunbonnet looks through the gate to see if it's cherries I've got on the plate, to see what I'm doing, to see if there's a lot, and if I'm alone in the garden or not. She's ever so curious and always looks through whenever she passes to see what I do. And sometimes I tend there is someone with me, and I talk and she tries to see who it can be, and wiggles about till her face is all pink, but who there is with me she can never think. She's always got toffee or sweets that crack, and so I can hear her whenever she's back. I don't mind her looking while I'm having tea, or mother or someone is playing with me, but if I've been naughty or crying, I hate for a little blue bonnet to look through the gate. The Hole in the Curtain. This one was my favourite. Here's the picture. Someone's torn the curtain, and I think it must be me. I climbed up to the window, and the curtain caught my knee, and then it wrapped my foot up, and I heard a hole, you see. Auntie's sure to notice, 'cause it's bigly as could be. She's coming, I can hear her, up the stairs to have her tea. I wish I was the bigly hole, and the bigly hole was me. The Creaking Stair. I think a little brownie elf lives in the next the toppest stair, and sits inside and squeaks itself to fricken me away from there. So when I go up in the day, and holding on to mother's dress, I kick the creaky stair and say, "You frickened now, old man, I guess." And when I go upstairs alone, I hum and hold my ears about, and always wish my legs was grown, so several stairs could be left out. And when it's night, it isn't fair to talk about the brownie elf, who's in the next to the toppest stair. It makes me sort of creak myself. A good idea. 'Cause Pussy's turned her back to me. They say it's going to rain, and though I turn her around about, she turns her back again. I want it to be fine today, and so I think I'll creep and sit the other side of her while she is fast asleep. Logic. They've put me in the corner just because I threw a ball and broke the parlour window, and it isn't fair at all to put me in the corner, making both my legs to stand, because I accidentally broke a window with my hand. Caterpillar grass. Down along the garden, by the tree that split in two, grow the caterpillar grasses, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I've pulled the fuzzy head off one and put it up my sleeve, and I wish it wouldn't tickle, and I'm trying not to breathe, 'cause I want to feel it walking, though I didn't think it could, all the way up to my shoulder, like they told me that it would, but it's such a little fuzzy one that's creeping up my sleeve that I've reckoned it's a really one and not a make-believe. There's a little black doorway and not any door, and you go down a passage with stones on the floor, and it's ever so dark and the walls are so hard, and you turn round a corner and into a yard, and there's steps that go down to the water, and out in the yard there's a very old man who's painting a boat, and he says if he can, and when the boat's finished we'll go out to the sea and bring home a fish that is bigger'n than me, and we'll go down the steps to the water. I'd like to be old and be painting a boat, and have on some whiskers and not wear a coat, and live down a passage, 'cause then I could play and paddle and climb up and down all the day on the steps that go down to the water. And that's all I'm going to read for now. If you want me to do another one and read the rest of the poems, because it's not a very long book, then leave suggestions in the comments. But I hope you've enjoyed. Now good night.